For this comparative study, I decided to focus on spaghetti and revisionist Western films, specifically analyzing the films The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, directed by Sergio Leone from the year 1966, and Unforgiven, directed by Clint Eastwood from the year 1992. The conventions of a spaghetti western are based on disingenuous violence and greed, and they are largely attributed to a rather stereotypical outlook on values in the 90s of America. Spaghetti westerns achieved their name due to an increase of Italian directors making attempts at creating breakthrough Western films in the filmmaking industry in the United States of America. Therefore, while many spaghetti westerns are set in the southwestern regions of the United States of America, a lot of the filming took place in Europe. Through the Italian attempt at creating a Western film which would be successful in the United States of America, ultra-stereotypical conventions of the Western genre were created. Stereotypical in the sense of assuming what Americans held as core values, meaning materialistic things such as money and firearms. This meant lots of killings, robberies, bounty hunting, and general lack of emotional ties within the characters. This can be compared and contrasted to revisionist Western films, because although there is killing, robbery, and bounty hunting, many of the abnormal stereotypes which were presented in the spaghetti Western films are broken. The exciting tropes of spaghetti westerns are largely based on romanticism and an enamored view of the post-Civil War time period of lawlessness and nonchalance. However, the revisionist Western film contrasts these ideals with its favoring towards realism and human emotion, which hopes to breathe more humanity into these characters of the genre. Revisionist Western films approach the genre by granting its characters a guilty conscious complex, which is different from the murderous, treasure-seeking, pirate-like bounty hunters of the spaghetti western. Cynicism and darkness are common finds within the revisionist Western film, alongside criticisms of authority and hypermasculinism. The revisionist Western film also grants more sympathy towards minorities such as women and indigenous peoples. However, the two are similar in their portrayals of the epicness of the wide-open frontier of the Wild West, and both use music effectively to fill in the gaps of silence accompanied with traveling across the vastness of the country. Revisionist Western films and spaghetti Western films are also similar in the sense that there are no clear tropes of good versus bad. Characters in both films understand the difficulty of the time in which they find themselves in, and will go to any lengths to get ahead of one another. The differences lie in the response towards this attitude, as revisionist Western films promote feeling, while spaghetti Western films take a more laissez-faire approach. The Western genre convention of journeys throughout the Western states of the United States of America is often seen in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and Unforgiven. However, the two films portray this convention differently. The convention of traveling in the Western films is very important, as the time period which these movies are set in contain the idea of the 19th to 20th century Western frontier of the United States of America. The motifs of horses and stagecoaches are represented in many Western films due to the cultural context of the time period setting. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a spaghetti Western film that uses specific wide camera shot types to highlight the Western convention of the beauty and adventurousness of the landscapes of the Wild West, and is often accompanied with sound through exciting background music that is played to reflect the spaghetti Western convention's intention. Sound is used to intensify the feeling of adventure, as the iconic soundtrack by Ennio Morricone for The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly plays in the background while the characters go on their adventures. These examples from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly highlight the adventurousness of the film as a whole, and shows the lack of responsibility that many of the characters have. Sound is vital to any film, and in films of the Western genre, the film element is used to immerse the audience into the Western setting. This means sounds of gunfire, from firearms such as repeaters and revolvers, are very commonplace in the genre, and all of this is contained within Ennio Morricone's masterpiece of a score, which is prevalent throughout The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The music is accompanied with sounds of whips, yells, galloping, and once-again gunfire, as the infamous flutes and whistles play to Sergio Leone's epic film. This makes the film very exciting and highlights the importance of upbeat music to an exciting spaghetti Western film. Unforgiven uses sound differently than The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, as the background music is somber instead of exciting. This is because the characters from Unforgiven, a revisionist Western film, have responsibilities and consequently fears. Because William Money has children, Ned Logan has a wife, and Schofield Kid is a rookie who is nearly blind. Clint Eastwood directed the score to highlight the responsibilities of the characters, as it has a very slow tempo yet melodic. This makes the film feel more realistic, as the journeys across the Wild West would not be as exciting as The Good, the Bad, would have the audience believe. A few slow guitar chords, a harp, and a slight orchestral background is all Clint Eastwood requires in this film to grant this audience a sense of uncertainty, nostalgia, and homesickness. The characters in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly are adventurous and free of responsibilities, which is typical of a spaghetti western film, and this is reflected through the exciting music. This is in sharp contrast to the characters in Unforgiven, who has fears and responsibilities, which are reflected through the somber music, and it is this difference in sound use that highlights the differences between spaghetti and traditional western films. However, the two films are similar in portraying the dangers of traveling across the western United States of America. Since traveling is an important part of the western genre, there are also bound to be repercussions to such a lifestyle: illness, overbearing weight, overexposure. These are some of the fears that should be prevalent within the western genre. This ties into the western genre motif of the frontier and traveling across vast landscapes in order to reach a location. Both films highlight this trope, as The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly shows Tuco and Blondie both nearly die due to overexposure to the desert sun and dehydration, while the camera pans to show how far they have traveled or how much further they must travel. In Unforgiven, William Money becomes sick due to being overexposed to rainfall for too long, as the camera pans right to show how the bounty hunting group has reached their destination. Another genre convention of Western films is the anonymity of the characters, which creates a mysterious feeling that surrounds the idea of the Western gunslinger legend. Many characters in Western films are surrounded by this idea of anonymity and legend through maybe digging up an old firearm or appearing in the film in middle or old age, which makes the audience wonder about their backstory. Oftentimes, this backstory is not revealed, and if it were to be revealed at all, it would likely be through some smaller mark or action. Flashbacks are never used in these films, and this is what makes the characters in Western films so intriguing, as they appear to be shrouded in mystery because of their unknown past. The Blondie, Tuco, Angel Eyes, William Money, and Ned Logan are all examples of this Western genre convention. All their backstories are hidden, and they are all exceptional legends at firearm use, often showing no fear in the face of a life-threatening duel. A difference lies between the two films when these Western legends are about to shoot someone else, as the sound, specifically the music, is used much differently. Since The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a spaghetti western film, the final scene contrasts sharply to the final scene of Unforgiven. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly finishes with Tuco, Blondie, and Angel Eyes in a three-way duel for a large sum of treasure. The final battle is likely the most iconic moment where Ennio Morricone's score comes into play, because the music rises to a fast-paced crescendo as the camera rapidly cuts between the facial expressions of the three legendary gunslingers. In the final battle between the sheriffs of the town and William Money and Unforgiven, there is no music. The sound is used solely to highlight the sounds of gunfire and groaning as the sheriffs are gunned down in a saloon. Evidently enough, British Western films, such as Unforgiven, are based in realism and fear for life due to a lack of epic music, while the characters in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly die to the sound of triumphant music, almost as if they are meant to die in such epic fashion. The Western genre convention of killing can be seen throughout both The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and Unforgiven. However, the portrayal for this convention is not universal in the two films. Since The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a spaghetti western film that glorifies killing through conventions such as epic stand-ups and duels, killing often happens with very little remorse or concern for human life, and is often portrayed through editing and specific camera shot types. Multiple scenes show the characters brutally murdering other people in attempts to either escape from captivity or gain money. These examples from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly highlight how often killing happens with no remorse in the spaghetti western film, and how attitudes towards killing are portrayed through editing and specific camera shot types. This is in contrast to the British Western film Unforgiven, that is more based on humanity and guilt, and shows many of the characters hesitating to kill and becoming mentally guilt-ridden as a result. These examples show how the characters in the spaghetti western film The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and the British western film Unforgiven differ in their attitudes regarding killing, because in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, characters often kill with no remorse. However, in Unforgiven, almost every killing committed creates remorse within the characters. In addition to this, these examples highlight the historical context of the late 19th century in the western state of the United States of America, as the mise-en-scène uses prop guns that would have been seen during the time, such as revolvers and repeaters, as well as portraying the lawless attitudes of the time by showing deadly bounty hunting and duels. Overall, the spaghetti western film The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and the revisionist Western film, Unforgiven, are different in showing the attitudes of the characters in the films towards violent acts of killing and bounty hunting. In conclusion, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, directed by Sergio Leone in 1966, is a spaghetti Western film that, when compared to the revisionist Western film, Unforgiven, directed by Clint Eastwood in 1992, is similar in how it portrays the idea of the Western legend and the dangers of traveling on the Western frontier in the United States of America. Furthermore, the two films are different in how they portray the epicness of travel, the attitudes towards killing, and the music which reflects the ideologies of the characters involved.